All right, so next we'll just be going through the STS concepts. Mike had to leave like in a few minutes, so that's why we did his part of the presentation first. So for STS concepts, I mean, these are pretty much the big six. On the study guide, Professor Berne wrote down holistic view of technology, but that one was like a really minor point when we talked about 5 billion names of God, which like isn't one of the short stories that'll be covered on the midterm. So I just kind of like skipped that. I hope that's cool. All right, so technological determinism, it's pretty much saying that technology is an autonomous force and that it changes society with a will of its own. If you look at like kind of like a historical perspective, if you were a technological determinist, you would point towards like social changes and you would ascribe that to a certain technology that happened. For instance, if you look at the use of slavery in the United States, a technological determinist would say that was a direct result of the cotton gin being implemented and causing like an increased need for labor. So given that technological determinism takes all of this complex human behavior and reduces it down to, one or two technological innovations, it is often criticized as reductionist, meaning that it's taking something that can't be explained with only one thing and trying to explain it through like one perspective, technology. So social determinism is just the flip side of that. It's saying that technology isn't the autonomous force that decides how we conduct ourselves, we do as a society. So that's pretty self-explanatory. The picture here shows that like you have like the progression of society and they're thinking about things, and those are the things that ends up like being made, the technology that they make. Technological momentum, it's kind of taking both pieces of social determinism and technological determinism, and it's plotting that against time to see what is the relationship between these two as time progresses. So for technological momentum, it's primarily characterized by initially you have society determining how do we want to use this technology, how much effort should we put in, how much power should we give it, so to speak. But then over time, the technology enmeshes itself, meaning that it becomes more involved. It becomes harder to live apart, for example. And then at that point, at the end of this spectrum of time, you have technology functioning more as an autonomous force. So you have a change from social determinism to technological determinism. For evaluating technology, I think that the title pretty much says it all. Technology is value-laden, meaning that technology reflects the values and desires of its makers and its users. So yeah, that's pretty much it for that. Technological fix, also pretty self-explanatory. It's saying that technology has the power to solve everything, that every single problem has a technological fix. There's some kind of technology that we can make to address this problem sufficiently. And then the picture I have for that is just your iPhone, and there's an app for that, advertising motto, which I thought encompassed the technological fix concept pretty well. Lastly, unintended consequences. This is probably the easiest STS concept to grasp. It's just saying that whenever someone does something new or a new technological innovation comes about, there are consequences that we can't necessarily foretell or predict. An example of that would be, I think, mid-1900s in Queensland, Australia, when they had a problem with cane grubs, and they decided to introduce an invasive species, and it ended up that these toads infested the northeast part of Australia, even to today. So on the note of unintended consequences, there comes this kind of side note of the precautionary principle, which is used a lot in ecology and biology, which pretty much says that if you want to do something, if you want to launch a project or put a new technology on the market, you have to first prove that it won't have these detrimental effects. But then again, unintended consequences means that you can't necessarily foretell all of those outcomes. So that's pretty much, STS concepts in a nutshell. Do you guys have any questions on that?